Hi, I'm Craig Steward from Dalebrook Media. In advance of our Marketing Café event coming up in February next year, I'm going to start sitting down with some of our speakers over a casual cup of coffee, digging into some of the biggest trends facing marketing professionals at the moment. Joining me today is Thandi from L'Oreal, Mota from Nestle, Sue from F&B, and Bianca from Teleshow Investment Holdings. Enjoy.
Everyone got their coffees, enjoying?
Is it all less Café?
No. So guys, let's talk a little bit around some of the biggest trends facing marketing at the moment. Like, I think for me, AI, certainly the hottest topic at the moment. Generative AI, definitely something that's right up there. How's it affecting marketing though? Because I know it from a data space and a cybersecurity space and data privacy space, but what about from a marketing space? It just seems like huge opportunity, but super challenging at the same time. Thandi, what are your thoughts?
So in the beauty space, AI has become the differentiator in what we do. So for us, we've used it a lot in what we call beauty tech, and it's allowing us to personalize the consumer's experience of skincare or beauty. So for us, it's been quite a game changer. It's allowed us to have mass products and personalize it. So apart from the data challenges you mentioned, it's actually been very positive for us. It's been a positive experience. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm finding. Most people kind of dig into it. It seems like it's a really powerful sort of thing, bringing a lot of advantages, insights, all that. So I love the personalization side of things, and that's really from a makeup point of view. It is personalization, firstly, anyway. What about yours from a consumer goods point of view?
Yeah, I think it also blurs some lines in that it potentially shifts the focus away from consumers and more through a analytical methodology of trying to predict what should be. And I think that authenticity balance starts to influence, whether or not actually are you still connecting with your consumers, or are you putting a facade on what you're trying to build as a brand. So I think in our world of food and beverages, it's quite unique because we're so highly regulated. I'm sure many companies are as well. But when you start to, try to interact almost a universe with another, it doesn't always work out. And I think we're learning that now, and that we're trying just to adapt, to be honest with you, because consumers want the predictive side of it, but we can't exactly absorb and be that agile all at once.
Talk about regulations too, from a bank point of view, Bianca, obviously from a financial insurance side as well. I mean, that must be a minefield. Like, you really want to use it, so I'm sure all of you do. I mean, regulation is going to come in completely, but I mean, it's a very regulated environment that you two are coming from.
Yeah, Craig, I think it's that fine line of not coming across as creepy, and obviously respecting the customer, but making sure that whatever we offer or how we communicate to the customer is super personalized. It's what the customer wants, and it's that fine balance that we're kind of investigating at the moment, and what to use it for. I think the buzzword hyper personalization obviously is on everyone's lips and kind of to-do lists, and so just having a look at how we tailor offers and comms to those customers with obviously respecting their privacy still.
Yeah, and it's all about what you put in, right?
Yeah.
I think we forget AI is just a tool. It's a tool to basic principles, to human behavior, to general understanding. And I think for us, just having a single view of the customer is point one, and then being able to layer AI and personalized comms after that.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is around data quality, which I think is a big thing. I mean, we've found it a lot, obviously, in the data events and things that we do in the community is a big focus for this, but it really does effectively impact business usage. How are you sort of working with your data teams to make sure that what you're putting into the AI machine, is good quality stuff? And there's the old adage, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So how are you kind of managing that, especially as AI becomes so powerful, right? Like, if you're putting bad data quality into sort of historical BI systems, it wouldn't have a huge thing, but now it's just moving so fast. You don't want to mix it up with the customer, and I think that's the big thing. How are you sort of guarding against sending out things that are creepy and also to the wrong, wrong sort of person at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can answer by saying it's we're actually learning from our retailers as much. So, like Checkers, for example, has 28 million subscribers to their loyalty program. And we're like, but how do you, being a customer of that myself, it's actually quite enjoyable not to feel pressured into having to make a decision, you know, at the till. I already know the principle behind their value.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to say as a manufacturer, but how can we learn from that? We actually give you that product, but the data you have is so enriched that you almost don't feel it as a consumer, at least in our margin. So we're wanting to adapt and actually have conversations around how do you build that platform? How do you incorporate that analytical data and make sure that it's not providing the wrong use of information that consumers don't want to hear about? So that very valuable, especially now, festive season. It's like, well, yeah, we can actually leverage it, but are we ready? I don't think we are yet.
I mean, first, you just have to work very closely with your data team. I think traditionally, marketing and data science was seen quite separate, and as marketers, you didn't know the fields. You know, what was being captured, what could we use, what information was there to help tailor or personalize a service or a product. And I think nowadays it just goes hand in hand. You've got to have your data buddy with you in every kind of meeting, just to open up those opportunities that potentially we don't know that even sits in the data lake, swamp, dam.
And it comes back to a mindset thing, I think. If I reference back to data and marketing not necessarily talking to each other, there's part of just what language do you speak. I think they saw marketing as the potentially the creative guys and had to learn how to speak marketing speak. And we had to earn some credibility as well in terms of data fields, the right tools, the right understanding. And I think there's a huge part of the customer having a say of what data you use and updating that data. There's got to be something in it for them, right? And again, if you want the latest behavior, the latest contact details, whatever it might be, they need some sort of incentive to participate in getting to that value exchange with you.
I think from a beauty industry point of view, it's so important that the two work together, marketing as well as our data people, because in our industry we need to the potential for bias is so big. So if we are going to say there's going to be technology that's going to help you find your perfect match, if the data is not representative of all of our customers, the kind of information that then goes out and you're using this particular tool and it doesn't match your skin tone because you're darker, there's a reputational risk there already, because now what is the business saying about me? How did they choose that this particular, shade was, so for us, it's extremely important. And before we launch any tools, we work with not only internally, but, even if we're doing things like, how do we analyze skin and skin tones, working with dermatologists, so working with the actual experts to make sure that the data we're feeding in is actually very credible. So it's not just internal, it's also working with experts outside of our industry.
So can I ask, Bianca, in your world, when you have data, or maybe data isn't so readily available, so in markets or consumers that aren't really digitally enabled, how do you find that helps or maybe doesn't help connecting the dots there?
Pros and cons, right? There's definitely moments that it creates opportunities to engage. So you're not just transacting, you've got potentially a competition or a way to engage, update your details. And again, it comes back to that value exchange of making sure you're sorted for the upcoming year, making sure you're sorted for the festive season. What information or data can we gather in return for advice, tips, etc.? And I think in our world as well, we have to rely on quite a few data partners. So I think about your dermatology experts. On our side, what can we get from bureaus? What information can we get around the assets that you have, whether that's your car, home, etc. And sometimes those data points we have to get elsewhere, not necessarily from the consumer directly.
So I think we're talking a lot about the data side of things, right? So there's all the fundamentals that go into it and all that sort of thing, but how are you actioning it? I think that for me is a really big thing. Like now you've got AI doing all the recommendations, the insights, all that sort of thing. How much sort of, I guess, will and motivation is there from that point onwards to take those insights and really transform campaigns and strategies and branding and all those sorts of things? Because what we found so often is that that sounds really nice, the machines come up with that, don't know if we trust it, we're just going to go our own direction. It's kind of a bit of an age-old problem.
Yeah, so I think so at the moment we are using it as these tools, but in terms of insights and I think the utopia would be for us to be able to use those insights to then really develop new products, because right now we're using the products we have to then personalize it to the consumer, but we're not really using the insights to then say, what do we create that's new? So there, I think from a beauty point of view, it's still quite new. It's not something that we've delved into yet, but it's a great opportunity. But we're not there. I'd be lying to say we're anywhere near there. Yeah.
You've got to have a test and learn mindset, I think.
Yeah.
And start small, prove that it works,
Right.
and then get that confidence to test it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think in our world, we're looking at where can you test it in a semi-low risk environment. So even things around generating copy, generating SEO copy, is it creative generation? What does that look like? And I think sometimes there's less risk associated with that because you're seeing the outcome or the output before you're putting it live anyway, before it's a model or real-time comms to customers, etc. So that's potentially one route to go is test it in pockets like that. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
Yeah, it's very similar, test and learn. I think the appetite for us is to speed up the time it takes to launch a campaign or launch something new. So you test and learn, kind of see what grabs, and then do more of that. But it needs to be, a lot of it's trigger based as well as where we want to get to. So if something happens kind of real time, you want to send that message out, because even if you wait 5 minutes, the moment's gone. There's somebody searching for a plumber as an example because they've got a problem right now. So if we then go back 2 days later with a message around, did you know you can access this suite of services, it's too late. So that's really where we want to get to with the test and learn, is that real time, right now. You need something now, we're there now. I don't think we're there just yet, but certainly that's the future, I think, of using that hyper-personalized messaging as well.
So in our world, when we look at the multi-brand approach, we often rely on the anthropology, on studying the culture of the consumer. When I look at like historic brands like Greek Coffee or Cremora, 60 years, 80-year brands in this particular country, we are aware of our consumer base, being sort of less disposable to having more income every now and then. So when we try applying digital influence into that market, we find that it's actually a very low response to what the consumer is actually wanting. They actually want it to be very basic, just keep it as is, don't get too creative, So we find that the stalwart brands are helping us understand that there will always be a place for human interface and that touch point, working within the ecosystem. As much as we want to be robust and drive, a very new analytical way, we often have to hold ourselves back and just say, well, in this situation, let it be in what it was established to do.
So you kind of talk there about being really authentic.
Yeah,
I think as well, like authentic messaging now with ChatGPT and all these sorts of things, you can get these answers, but I think it's quite easy to tell that it's been generated by a machine rather than someone human. Especially like you want to change the language to your customers and different brands and different personas and things like that. And I think it comes down to also not using AI for AI's sake. Like it doesn't have to be in everything. I don't know if you're trying to, what's the fit, like the fit for purpose
Exactly.
type of thing. So I don't know if you kind of try to push that, because it seems like C-levels are like, you have to use AI into everything, but kind of push back. Oh no, let's just keep it. This is still working. Like it works really well. Is there going to be any significant uplift from using AI or anything like that?
Suppose we try to use it in a complementary manner. So for instance, if somebody is sitting at a beauty counter and they're doing this smiley face thing or whatever it is, the relationship between the beauty consultant can't be replaced by this thing that's just said use this blush, because it could be something that maybe is out of stock, and then this is where the beauty ambassador will compliment to say, maybe you can use this, or if it's a price issue. So for us in the industry, it's used to complement the human interaction. It'll never replace it, because beauty is such a personal relationship with the product. So I think that we have a good understanding that even our competitors are doing some great work on how they are marrying the human interaction with technology, and I don't feel that it's there's any push to kind of make it more what is the word, to depersonalize it. It always have that personal touch.
Exact same in our space. I think it's always about the role. Where does it fit in the mix? Are you using it to drive efficiencies in one space? You can spend more time doing something else. There's always the counter trend, and I feel like the more that you have AI, the more there will be this push to human interaction, human touch. you saw the isolation during COVID. I think we all chatted about that a bit earlier. So that human connection piece is always going to be there. I think in our industry, if you think about someone going through a claims experience, you've had a really bad accident, you've been hijacked, you've been robbed, you need that personal connection at the time of claim. So where can you do it to streamline processes and add convenience, and where do you really need that human moment? And I think those that create great human connections are actually going to win during the time of AI.
Pretty bad time to put in a chatbot. Just the house has been destroyed by hail. You should have watched that.
Oh my
What do I
goodness.
do?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, we see the same with people still want to go into branches, they still want face-to-face help. And so similar exactly to what you said, Thandi, it's around enhancing that experience, not replacing the human. I think people still need that, still want that. And I think humans still help best. So how do we enhance? What are those roles? And almost defining it at that C-suite level to say, these are the opportunities that we see, like you said, whether it's to gain efficiencies or improve something rather than replace something.
So AI, I mean, we could talk about for hours, right? But what are some of the other big trends that you're seeing in marketing at the moment? It all seems very much data-driven, data science, insights, all that sort of thing. But what are some of the other areas that you're seeing, as a real big trend in the marketing space at the moment?
Alpha generation of telling us what to do rather than relying on a big strategy to and honestly speaking, it's a very confusing world for us because you on the one end know that an alpha generation or someone who's quite young at the moment might not have the income in order to purchase your product right now, but we're learning quite quickly that if we aren't able to appease them, they are the next 2-year sort of pocket share that we would like to grab and interest. And if you miss it once, we are out the boat with them. So it's very much they're driving the campaign. It's a call to public opinion of them. It's not saying, hey, we demand that you have more transparent information around nutritional value or options of alternative variant of product and not just the same sugar content in this and that. So we were having to really look at our innovation and in some cases look back and say maybe we didn't do too well and discontinue a brand and a product, and what do you do there? Then you find the true influence of what marketing has either equipped you to do or maybe you haven't paid enough attention to it. So I think that for us is a new world. We're trying to figure it out. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
In our world, it's more local because in the beauty industry, that influencer marketing is so big. But in Africa, we've struggled with that a little bit in terms of ensuring that we are representative of the people that we are selling to. So, we talk about AI and hyper personalization. It's also to ensure that. It is a strategy of the beauty industry to use micro and macro influencers, but to ensure that they are relevant in our markets. So while, these big multinationals love and I completely understand it, what it looks like in Paris, it must look like in South Africa. So there's one big brand. We can't be using the same sort of terminology or the same faces because we are in a different market, and it's really understanding that because if we are going to talk about products that are so personal to you, we want to look at people who look like me. So for us, it's not new, but it's not a new, influencer marketing is not new as a concept, but for South Africa, it is quite new, ensuring that we are using the right types of influencers that, talk to the African consumer.
Are you using augmented reality at all? That people can actually look at it and be like, okay, that's my face and that's what it's going to look like. Various products, colors, shades, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're using a lot of that, and part of the conversation at the moment from a C-suite level is, what is the ethical way to use it? Because obviously we can use augmented reality to. We want to send, we want to sell anti-aging, so we've got this person that looks like they're 5 years old.
Benjamin Button.
Exactly. And obviously augmented reality allows for that, and it's a beautiful headshot of somebody who's got beautiful hair, beautiful skin. But ethically speaking, if we talk about beauty that's real for real people, we are going to understanding that it is such a powerful tool. we've decided, and can't say as an industry, but definitely at a L'Oreal, that we are not going to use that because it goes against what we are trying to achieve. But in terms of tools that help you choose the right lipstick shade, it helps the consumer journey. I mean, even personally speaking, it took me I'm 43 now, 42 years to find my right shade. Now I can get onto a tool and then say, oh, it's this shade, number 402. So there's a lot of benefits, but like we said earlier, it's about understanding how this technology enhances. It's not technology for the sake of technology. Yeah.
To pick up on your influencer point, I think there's so many of them now as well, which also brings in the authenticity question. So trying to find the right mix there. So I'd say one of the trends, also potentially not new, but new in a different way, is the right marketing mix. I think we're still, my analogy is always the cake and finding the right recipe, and I think we're still struggling with that. Still trying to get into the right attribution modeling, the right mix. As soon as you see these digital trends, everyone's behavior goes there, everyone's media spend goes there, and you potentially end up in places you shouldn't be. So getting that mix right, I think, is still a trend.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say a very similar thing in terms of allocating the right channel for the right role as well. And there's brand building, awareness, consideration, pushing them down the funnel, and how much do you dedicate to each piece of the funnel, and what do you say in each piece of that funnel. Again, not new, but I think it's a challenge that we have kind of every year or every fiscal as marketers, just to make sure that the balance is right in an ever fragmented audience as well. How do you speak to the various different segments in a way that's relevant while balancing cost efficiencies as well?
Absolutely.
So that hyper-personalization side, I think it's being driven by the market. Younger people want to be talked to in a way that they want to be talked to. There's so many, they don't kind of fit in buckets anymore. Right, though there's a lot more buckets, I guess, a lot more smaller buckets. So is that kind of what's driving hyper-personalization on your side? Is it more from the business side saying we need to be hyper-personalized, or is it sort of a tug and war between both sides of that?
I mean, I'll answer from my point of view. I think customers are wanting stuff that's relevant to me. It's not broadcast anymore. Like, if it could be for you or you or you or you, then it's not speaking to me. So I think in order to grab somebody's attention now in an ever competitive landscape, you need to be relevant, and I think that assists with being relevant. So it's not necessarily internally being driven, or customers saying you're not doing hyper-personalization to me. It's more about relevancy. That's what we've seen.
And best bang for buck, right? So I think it's both. I genuinely think it's both. Where can you get better response by having a hyper-personalized approach, and where can you get the most receptivity, I guess, in terms of the customer receiving that in action?
It's almost like you want to market to your network, of this is my preference of my world. Don't break the bubble. So like I often think about when you have a private banker. In some cases, you find that that's the rapport that you may want in your choice of what products and services that you're looking at doing. And when you don't get that, you quite quickly are quite vocal to express that is not my cup of coffee. It's
platforms now to voice
right, and have to monitor as well and drive that optimization as Bianca was talking about. So I think it's an evolving landscape. It's never fully realized. I think we're learning that as well, and we're constantly at the table, constantly needing to explore. Like you said, is it the business or is it the consumer? We are consumers of that business too. So we have to be humble enough to recognize that our place is not just behind four walls. We also are receivers of this information outward. So.
And as marketers, what excites you going forward? I mean, a lot of these trends we talk about that maybe don't necessarily excite you. They could be, pretty nerve-wracking. But like, what are some of the things that excite you as marketers? What are some of the? I mean, is it generative AI? Is it DALL-E? Like creating these fantastical images and using ChatGPT and things like that, or are there other things that are really on the horizon that you think that's going to be very cool for us?
Well, at the moment, for me, it is tools like ChatGPT, and not for me personally, but what it can do for our customers, because a lot in some of our divisions we're very B2B focused. So we've got divisions that are looking after professional hair products. So our hair salon owners, for instance, are very good at what they do as technicians, but are terrible at marketing. So we, as part of our service to them, is to help them use these kinds of tools to create social media posts and articles to help them market their own business, because they don't know how to do that. So for me, that excites me, because it feels like it's not just about us getting from them, we are pouring back into them as well. So at the moment, that's what's exciting me. Yeah, it's the ability to help others with these tools that they wouldn't necessarily know. Yeah.
I think the Gen AI piece for me is exciting, purely as an end user, selfishly. I love the idea of just being asking, even the voice enabled stuff, just being able to ask a question and get an answer, not have to traipse around, not have to make multiple decisions or reference multiple places, single question, single answer. I think that is equally terrifying. How, as a brand, do you make sure you show up there, that you are the recommended option, that you are the solution to the question? But end user perspective, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think there's so much opportunity in the technology space and innovation, and just who would have thought a few years ago that you could pay with your watch or pay with your phone, and there's so much opportunity there, and it's such an exciting space, and I don't even know what's next, but it's probably even more exciting than tapping with your watch. So just the technology pumping in and the innovation pumping into that in the app-based space for me is what's getting me excited, and the uptake, people are wanting that, they're using it, and that's really encouraging to see as well.
Geez, I think it's also about almost you can design the future now, right? Like you can choose how your car should appear, what type of clothes you'd like ahead of time. It's almost having the pulse before the pulse is there, and I think that's exciting, and how that integrates into the world of connected devices or choice of matter in all of that. You can almost have a wish list and it can actually be fulfilled now. So, it's like finally.
What you wish
so for me, that's definitely the world of what I'm excited to see in what that brings.
All right, look, it's been good chatting to you guys. I think I'm going to grab another coffee. I don't know if you guys want as well, but enjoy the rest of your day. It's been
Thanks.
Same here. Enjoy your fourth coffee.